Hi, this is Tim Spikowski from King's Hobbies and Games. This is part 8 in a series on painting multicam on an Elhiem 20mm miniature. I'm at the point right now where I'm getting ready to actually paint the camouflage, and I wanted to show you a couple things that I do as far as technique and in my method of how I do it. I talked about tricking the eye. When painting, we want to make things look like they're there, and they may not be. We're actually putting color into areas where they may not necessarily be based on a pattern or a print, but we're wanting to represent the color, represent the camouflage pattern. The figure's this small. I am going to put touches of paint or areas where I think it's best represented of where the camouflage would be, and then follow suit with other colors in that scheme. I'm holding a dog handler that's a 20mm Elhiem figure that I painted, and I basically did the same type of style. I would put dots of paint where I thought best fit for the camouflage itself. My first multicam figure I painted was this figure, and this was about 2 years ago. I since have changed a little bit of the colors that I'm using, but for the most part, the technique is the same, and I'm very happy that it can be a repeatable process. When I was younger, painting camouflage scared the heck out of me. It stressed me out. It never looked right. It was something I always tried to avoid. And when I started painting figures for Elhiem, there were some figures that I had to do in woodland camouflage and other desert stuff that kind of forced me to just knuckle down and figure out the best way to do it. And again, this is my way. I'm sure there's plenty of other better ways, but this is what works for me. So I'm going to talk about my palette. I use a wet palette, and it's very important, in my opinion, to have one because it allows you to do wet blending. It saves you time. You don't have to speed up and go really fast and worry about your paint drying. Right now, I'm going to start with a green color, and I'm going to use Vallejo Model Color Flat Green. Now this is going to represent these dots. Let's see if I can zero in on here. These green dots that you see. That's all it is. Just green dots. But I place them so that they somewhat follow the style of the multicam, but also the location of where the pattern is, at least where I think it is. I highly recommend actually having uniforms for reference. I own a set of multicam, and when I painted this figure, I simply hung the uniform up, and as I was painting this figure, I'd look up at the uniform and say, okay, yeah, this kind of goes there, this green goes there, this brown goes there, and so on. So again, I'm not trying to completely duplicate a camouflage pattern. In multicam, my God, I don't know how you would do that, not at this scale. And if you can do that, boy, you're a much better man than I am. But what I try to do again is just represent what multicam would look like. You've got little squiggles, got little browns. Right there's nice brown and some offset with a very light beige white color. We're going to do the green first. And what I'm going to do to help speed up the process for everyone is I'm going to paint one figure and not film the rest of the figures. I'm just going to paint one color at a time and pause the film and then finish and then jump to the next ones. So I'm going to start, I think best example for more coverage is this figure here. I think this would better to use as a demonstration because of the areas of the helmet cover, the arms, and all that sort of stuff. There's more for me to paint, a little bit easier to see. Now, let's talk about a little bit with the web gear. I want to break things up. I don't want it to look all uniform. I don't want to have the same color green here as it's on the arm. Why? Because, well, they're different manufacturers that make the equipment, and the dyes are different. The sun may have faded the camelback cover more than the shirt, or vice versa, or the helmet cover. So I always kind of add a little things, add a little creams or ivories or something that just changes it up. So I'm going to take my flat green and put it out there. Use glaze medium, and I'm going to mix colors up here. When you're painting camouflage patterns, I highly recommend that you do not have your paint thick. Again, I paint in layers, and when you paint camouflage in layers, or you apply the camouflage in a very thin layer, when it dries, the pattern actually looks like it's part of the fabric, not painted on. I see that's a lot of cases what people do when they're painting camouflage, is that they apply the same consistency of paint of the camouflage pattern versus the uniform. So then it just doesn't look right. Okay, so looking at a model here of what I have, I'm just going to start putting little dots of green here. And sometimes you may not see it right away, and it requires you to do it a couple more times. I'm using a Winsor Newton size 0 brush. I highly recommend Winsor Newton. I use them. I sell them. You can buy them at kingshobbiesandgames.com. I try to do a really good deal, get you a good price on them. Winsor Newton allows you to really zero in on the area of where you're trying to paint, and it holds the brush and the tip just perfect. This particular brush, I think I've been painting with for about a year. I have older Winsor Newtons, but this is just the one I happen to grab. So, okay, so I'm not following a pattern per se. I'm making my own. I'm just putting dots where it's represented, where the paint itself, or the color itself, is represented. Now, this may not look like anything right now, and that's okay. The shading and the outlining, the pin washing, will do a really good job of isolating different areas of the arms, of the web gear, that sort of thing, and it will bring out the camouflage patterns. It will bring out those greens and so just putting. I am not entirely covering this figure in green dots or green lines. I used to be really intimidated with painting multicam. I thought, what the hell am I getting myself into? There's no way I can paint that. But I find that multicam is easier to paint than the old Woodland BDUs. US Woodland BDUs. There's a pattern that needs to be followed, and the colors need to be laid down a certain way. But after you get your technique done for your multicam, your painting process and your speed will increase, and you'll be able to get more painted. Okay, so I'm just kind of looking around right now, see where I think browns need to go. Again, kind of comparing. And you know what, this color may not be the exact color, and that's okay, because things are going to change soon with the shading. So I'm going to move on to the next figures, and then I will start off with a lighter shade of khaki and pale sand to bring in those whites. Okay, so I've applied the greens, the green dots to the pattern, or to the uniform. I hope you can see this, but this green is lighter than this green. I just wanted to lighten up so that this shows a difference in the pattern itself and the material. I didn't put a lot of green dots here. This, to me, the multicam does not require a lot. I guess it just depends upon the look and what you're trying to do and how you want to represent the pattern itself. I think there's a couple, from my experience, what's important, the colors that's important are the next two, really. It's the lightish, it's a cream, almost a white color, and those are going to be dots that are going to go next to the green, little over here. And then I think the most important color is the brown, the chocolate brown. And you'll see as it builds, you'll see that the brown really ties the other colors together, and it really gives that multicam look. Okay, so for the creams, I've got 3 colors. I mentioned the 2 earlier, but I forgot one to add one. One is Vallejo Khaki, Vallejo Highlight British Tinker, and Vallejo Pale Sand. Now, if you do not have these exact colors, don't panic, because if you get colors that closely resemble these, you're going to do fine, because if it's too light, the shading, the washing that's going to occur will darken it up a little bit. So I wouldn't just really worry too much. Now, the base color, when you're mixing, if it is too light, then you can add some more khaki to it to darken it up. So I got my wet palette here, mix the colors. The challenge here is I want this to stand out. I want this is a khaki color, but I can't have it be the same khaki color as the uniform. Then you're not going to see the difference. Will just all fade into looking like one color. So let's take a look and see how this is going to go. I'm going to just start applying these dots here. And if it's not light enough, then I might just add some more white to it, or pale sand, or even ivory, just to break that up, just to represent that white or that cream color. Now, if you look at multicam, and especially the British version of their DPM, they're not these lines that I'm calling lines aren't just lines. They can be little swiggly marks. So when you're painting that, keep in mind that you can move the brush a little bit and give it a little bit more flair. And if you don't like it, you can just wipe it right off. And as you can see, we're slowly starting to get that feel of multicam. Again, I'm not trying to go for an exact representation. I'm just trying to do like a simulation of a just, hey, this is what it's going to look like. I'm tricking the eye into seeing that, yeah, that looks like multicam. Is this award-winning? No, it's not award-winning, but it's doing the job for war games. Now, right now, a lot of this just looks all one, like one piece of fabric. And I talked about the pin washing earlier. Again, that pin washing will take care of all this. Again, the idea is to have a lighter color, a lighter khaki color that is going to look different than the base. I don't know about you, but I start getting excited when I see the uniform and my hard work coming together, and seeing this and knowing what things will look like in the end. That's when I get excited. I hope you can see this. I hope this is coming out. Okay. And in the future, if I go back and I'm done and I still think that things need to be a little bit lighter, just step out. Again, I'll just add some more white or ivory and just put a dab. It's real easy. It's a very freeing camouflage pattern to paint in this scale, at least, in my opinion. On to the brown. Going to continue on painting the lighter parts of the multicam camouflage pattern. I took a break overnight and I wanted to see what that cream color is going to look like, and it is not white enough. It's not light enough. So I'm going to add some ivory to the mix. So I want that white, I'm calling them white patches, to stand out. I want it to come out in front of the actual khaki uniform color so you can see it. Again, this paint was left overnight, so this paint is as wet as it was when I started. That's probably about 8 hours ago. better. Yeah, I talked about not using white, only in extreme cases for extreme light. So ivory, either ivory is the color that I go to, or Vallejo Game Color Linen, I believe is the name of the color. It's close to white, but it's not white, so it's not going to get chalky. And this is an easy fix. You know, I'm just seeing these areas where the white needs to occur. And I might add more later on. After the browns are painted, I might see that it needs some white in there, just some touches to give the appearance of the multicam a little bit better. Talking about whites, one of the paints that I am in love with right now is Scale 75. And they have a color Scale 75 white sands that I love using. Nacre. These are beiges. They're like tans. And even their pale skin would work. So, little shameless plug there for Scale 75. Again, you can buy that at kingshobbiesandgames.com. Awesome, awesome paints. So I'm just adding more white here. Okay. Right now, I think that's where I'm going to stop. I don't want to go too much white because it just will get lost. The camouflage pattern itself will get lost. The next color that I will use is chocolate brown, and I'll show you what I do with that, and it will really bring out that feel of the multicam that we're looking for. Again, you know, here's just a white there and a green and a brown spot. I think what makes this successful is just the color combinations and the nice base paint or base color of the uniform itself. I think that's why this is a successful recipe. Either that or it's just good damn luck. Okay, we're going to go back to using the brown colors now to add more of the multicam camouflage pattern. I wanted to show you real quick a couple of the other figures that I've been working on as well as I've been pausing the video, and I hope you can see this. This figure is kind of interesting because there's a lot of folds there. He's crouching down. You're not going to see a lot of stuff right now, so I'm just putting hints of some of the white in there. Right now I can see I need to add some more here, add some more here, and put some white on the holster. I've always found it as a challenge for me when you're painting camouflage on poses such as this, when everyone, you know, when the figure itself is crouching down or the leg is kneeling. It does not have a lot of material exposed, so you got to be a little creative. You got to decide, what are you wanting to show. So, for example, I wanted to show the white here. I wanted to show some white there. This is all starting to look the same. So the washes and the pin washing will break that up and make it less confusing to the eye. I did not want to put a lot of white here, so that it's coming along. It's almost done, actually. So I'll bring this figure that we've been working on back into the foreground. I am shaking Vallejo Model Color Chocolate Brown. I use this kind of like as a base, and if it's not dark enough, then I go to one of my favorite colors that I use a lot, Vallejo German Camouflage Black Brown. That is, from my experience, Vallejo's raw umber, and that gives it a little bit more of the look that I'm trying to achieve. I talked about earlier in this video the necessity to dilute your paint for camouflage so that it doesn't just look like it's been splattered on, or it doesn't look like it's actually part of the material itself. That's why I like to dilute it a little bit. Okay, so one of the things that stands out to me when I look at multicam is the black, and the lines of the black, or the brown, I'm sorry. So I'm going to simulate that with just making little squiggly lines here. Okay, well, I've noticed right away that the brown is not as dark as I want it to be, so I'm just gonna get my German Camouflage Black Brown out. Mix those colors. Okay, what I'm trying to achieve are these just little lines here. Sorry, these little lines here. Just kind of add little lines. And again, like anything, sometimes it takes a couple layers, a couple times to put the layers down. So if the brown is not as brown as I'm wanting it to be, then I go back and I add more paint. Okay, I can tell you right now, it's still not dark enough for me. So I'm just going to add the Vallejo German Black Brown. Save myself time. I know that it's not what I'm trying to achieve. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Again, a lot of this is looking like a jumbled bit of mess. That's okay. Again, I'm looking for the feel of multicam, so that when people see it, they go, "Wow, that's multicam." I can tell. It's more of a representation. I had to, for my own sanity, find a way to paint this. Paint camouflage. That was more of representations than actual duplications of a camouflage. My own analness and I guess OCD kicks in, and I want to make it look as best as I can, and you can only achieve so much. At least I can only achieve so much. So in the time that I have, okay, now am I getting the look and feel of what I'm wanting here? Also, when I paint camouflage or a new type of, new pattern or a new uniform, I normally take a test figure and paint that figure and figure out how I want things to go before I start painting like a whole platoon or even a squad. There we go. See, now it's starting to really come together. Okay, I'm going to, let's do another line here real quick. Yeah, I can tell my analness is kicking in here. Okay, I'm going to pause the video here and go on to finish the other two, and then we're going to go into washes and starting to tie all of this together, shade, make some areas darker shade, and then start going to pin washing and stuff.